Breaking news! Amazon just dropped the hammer and laid off 14,000 people, which is wild. But even crazier, they remembered Twitch exists. Yes, that same Twitch where the CEO says the platform needs more 8-year-olds watching streams. Totally not creepy at all. And now the workforce is going poof, faster than a Twitch mod banning someone for saying hello. The best part? This happened right after their CEO tried to sweep a literal assault under the rug at TwitchCon. Oh, this is going to be good. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Critical Nerd, the channel that doesn't need AI to replace us, even though Amazon just replaced half its workforce with AI. You know, there's something truly poetic about watching a company that spent years platforming the worst people on the internet, protecting ideological allies while banning people for calling someone fat, and creating such a toxic workplace that their own employees are celebrating getting laid off. Finally, getting absolutely nuked by their parent company. Amazon just dropped the hammer. 14,000 corporate jobs gone. Poof. And guess who got hit the hardest? Yeah, that's right. Twitch and their gaming division got absolutely demolished with a 35% staff cut. Because apparently the future of innovation is fire everyone and hope the robots don't unionize. Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment. Will Twitch even be alive next Christmas? So grab your popcorn because we're diving into the glorious dumpster fire that is Twitch's comeuppance. And trust me, it's even better than you think. Let's start with the numbers because they're absolutely brutal. 14,000 layoffs confirmed across Amazon, and experts say it could hit 30,000 total soon. That's not restructuring, that's a massacre. That's not trimming the fat, that's amputating entire limbs and hoping the patient survives. And Twitch got 35% of its workforce Thanos snapped. Just boom, gone. Sources say around 500 roles eliminated from Twitch alone, continuing a trend of downsizing that began in 2023 after the platform's quote-unquote restructuring under Dan Clancy. Yeah, restructuring. You know, that's corporate speak for we're firing everyone and pretending it's strategic. Steve Boom, wow, that's apropos, Boom, Amazon's VP of Audio, Twitch, and Games, sent out a memo saying they're halting, and I quote, a significant amount of first-party AAA game development work, specifically around MMOs, within Amazon Game Studios, with significant role reductions hitting their Irvine and San Diego studios. Let me translate this for you. They're basically shutting down their entire gaming ambitions. New World, dead. That Lord of the Rings MMO they were working on, well, that's also dead. Not the warehouse people though. Oh no. That's next. They said the quiet part out loud. And I quote, robots don't take sick days. Robots don't complain. Well, that's what Amazon leadership said, basically. Amazon's new strategy, AI automation, cloud expansion, cutting costs, no human beings. And you know what the really funny part of all this is? Amazon stock, it went up after announcing these layoffs. It rose about 1% on Tuesday because Wall Street knows what we all know. When you fire thousands of people, investors get excited because Wall Street is basically a Bond villain. One longtime Amazon employee told reporters, and I quote, if the layoffs keep jacking up the stock price, maybe I could retire instead. That's the level of cynicism we're dealing with here. Now let's talk about the timing of all this because, oh man, it is suspicious. Twitch has already been dramatic meltdown central for months. Sexual assault at TwitchCon caught on film. Imaru literally assaulted on camera. Security did nothing to stop it. Twitch's immediate response? Tried to sweep it under the rug. Nothing to see here, folks. Didn't happen. Then they apologized only after massive backlash, but mostly for, getting caught. Just weeks ago, some psychopath walked up to Imaru and tried to kiss her while she was streaming. The footage went viral because, thankfully, a random fan had their phone out. If that footage never got out, nobody would have known what even transpired, and Twitch could have swept this under the rug just like they do with everything else. And how did CEO Dan Clancy respond? Well, initially he tried to ignore it. Then when he couldn't anymore because the internet was on fire, he went on Taylor Lorenz's show and basically said, yeah, that's society's problem, not ours. I mean, I'm not kidding, folks. He defended Twitch's trust and safety practices and argued that the incident was part of a wider social trend beyond Twitch. Imagine your building getting robbed because you have no locks, and your response is, well, crime exists in society, so what can you do? That's your job, Dan. That's literally what you're paid to do. But wait, it gets better. You know Imaru's favorite security guard? The one who actually did his job and held the psycho until the police arrived? Well, Twitch banned him from TwitchCon. They banned the security guard who protected their creator and did nothing to the person who assaulted her. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. So after the massive public backlash, Dan Clancy finally issued an apology, just a wall of corporate text that basically says, we're sorry that you found out about this. The man said, and I quote, it shouldn't have happened and we take that very seriously. Oh, you take it seriously now? Well, where was that seriousness when it actually was happening? Like at that moment. This is the classic move of someone who only cares about the PR damage when it gets too big to ignore. You're either lying now or lying then because you didn't take it seriously and you tried to pull one over in hopes that this would just go away. And just when you thought the optics couldn't get worse for Twitch, Amazon announces these massive layoffs. Perfect timing to announce layoffs. Nothing says accountability like firing your trust and safety veteran of 11 years via email. Now, here's another little tidbit. Let's throw a little more out there in the ether. Employees, those employees, they're starting to speak out. And let me tell you, they're not holding back. One former Twitch employee worked there for 11 years, longer than some marriages last, unfortunately, posted about getting laid off via email. He said he built the entire fraud program at Twitch, the system that keeps bad actors off the platform. His response? I did my job too well, so they let me go. Now, buddy, let's talk about this. Public reaction was split. Half the internet said, sorry, bro. The other half said, karma. Remember when you false banned everyone? See, the community immediately called him out because apparently his fraud detection system was banning innocent VTubers left and right for supposedly using stolen payment information or bots. Multiple streamers came forward saying they got hit with false bans, their accounts suspended indefinitely for violations they never committed. So either he didn't do his job well, and that's why he got fired, or he did his job too well and was banning everyone, including legitimate users. Either way, not a really good look. This guy has the audacity to be fishing for sympathy on social media after potentially ruining other creators' livelihoods with a broken system. The lack of self-awareness is, I gotta say it, stunning. But that's what a lot of companies do. If you do your job well, not only are they going to utilize you, they're not going to give you a pay raise. They're not going to move you up. They're going to utilize you to do all the hard work, let their friends jack off in the corner, and then eventually you're going to be let go because your job almost seems like it's not needed because you're running it so well. Add to all this, massive declining viewership, advertisers fleeing, botting scandals, creators migrating to YouTube, Kick, and Rumble. Clownfish TV and others have been saying it. Twitch might get shut down or sold off soon. And you know what? They might be right. Just a little quick break here, folks. If you think Twitch's moderations team should be scanned for brain activity, like this video. If you want Dan Clancy replaced with a literal toaster, subscribe. And drop a comment. Should Amazon just sell Twitch to Elon and let him rename it Twix? Now back to the chaos. Let's talk about Amazon games for a second, because this is equally hilarious. Amazon Games, once hyped as the next big thing, is now being carried out on a stretcher. Amazon has been trying to break into gaming for years. They've dumped billions, and I mean billions of dollars into trying to make successful games. And what do they have to show for it? Well, MMO projects gutted. Lord of the Rings MMO, gone, canceled, never going to see the light of day. New World, well, it's going to be shut down by 2026. Now remember, New World launched in 2021, had a huge player spike, and then dropped off a cliff faster than you could say, we should have play tested this. Now it's going into maintenance mode through 2026 before being shut down entirely. Lost Ark? Well, that's actually doing okay, but here's the thing. Amazon didn't even make it. They just published it in the West. They're basically just the distributor, like a glorified delivery service for someone else's product. Which honestly might be a blessing in disguise, because knowing Amazon's track record with Rings of Power and that Lord of the Rings MMO probably would have been a disaster anyway. Hey Amazon, I have a free business tip for you. Maybe don't build your entire gaming empire on one game that died faster than Google Stadia. Developers tweeting, we've worked hard for 10 years. Amazon's response to those developers? That's adorable. Delete your badge. But here's the kicker. They're pivoting to Luna, their cloud gaming platform. Yeah, Luna. The gaming platform that literally nobody talks about. The service that makes Google Stadia look successful. This is like watching someone abandon their drowning child to go save their pet rock. Now let's address the elephant in the room here. The AI excuse. Amazon leadership straight up admitted, this generation of AI is transforming everything. So we're laying off 14,000 humans. CEO Andy Jassy said AI is driving the biggest transformation in Amazon's history, calling it the most powerful shift since the internet. Let me translate this for you folks. We finally found workers who don't complain when we pay them nothing. Here's the truth in all this. AI is a convenient scapegoat. It's the new blockchain or metaverse. Just a trendy buzzword that executives throw around to justify whatever decisions they were going to make anyway. Are they really going to replace 14,000 workers with AI? Some of them, probably. But most of these positions, they were probably redundant to begin with. AI will now supposedly moderate Twitch chats, run customer support, build games, replace every job except the execs responsible for this disaster. Amazon, like a lot of tech companies, went on a hiring spree during COVID when money was free and interest rates were zero. Now that reality is set back in. They're realizing they hired thousands of people for jobs that didn't actually need to exist. Beth Galetti, senior vice president at Amazon, said they're trying to operate like the world's largest startup and eliminate bureaucracy. Because nothing says efficiency like keeping the guy who said he wants more 8-year-olds on Twitch while firing everyone else. Yeah, let's go back to that guy. Let's circle back to Dan Clancy for a moment, because this man deserves his own special segment. Somehow, Dan Clancy survives this firing spree like a cockroach after a nuclear blast. Dan Clancy has been the CEO of Twitch for about 2 years now. And in that time, he has managed to make the platform significantly worse in almost every measurable way. The bias in enforcement is now so blatant that even casual observers can see it. You can shock collar your dog on stream. That's fine if you're on the right side politically. Tectone calls someone fat? 2-week ban. Hassan platforms terrorism? Crickets. Someone does an essay? Banned for less than 24 hours. The double standard here is so obvious, so egregious that it's become a meme. And Dan Clancy's response to all this? Party with female streamers and give non-answers when confronted about it. Oh, and here's a fun clip that recently surfaced. Dan Clancy was caught on camera talking about needing to attract younger viewers. He literally said, and I quote, "We've got to keep attracting younger viewers that grow up on TikTok when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, even though they shouldn't be." What the actual hell? Really? Really? Did he seriously just admit on camera that he wants 8-year-olds using the platform? Someone check this man's hard drive, because that's not something a normal CEO says. In fact, I'll just say it right here, lock him up. Now, Rekieta Law, Nick, he's gone through his trials and tribulations here the past few months, had this to say: Twitch is dying a very fast death. Clownfish TV's Neon said, cut the CEO first. Yeah, I gotta agree with that. But Amazon won't remove him, probably because he knows where the bodies are buried. Or maybe they're just waiting for the next scandal to justify his removal with a golden parachute. While 35% of his workforce just got fired, Dan Clancy is still sitting pretty at the top. That's corporate America, baby. So this begs the question, what's next for Twitch? Well, there's a couple possibilities here. Possibility A, Twitch gets sold for pennies to some venture capitalist. Amazon pretends it never existed. Dan Clancy resigns to pursue other opportunities. Possibility B, Amazon shuts it down entirely within 2 years. Rumble and Kick split the refugee creators. YouTube gaming becomes the dominant platform. Or possibility C, robots start streaming. AI Amaranth does hot tub ASMR. Or we all live in the metaverse. Chris Pavlovsky, CEO of Rumble, predicted a year ago that Amazon would shut down or sell Twitch within 2 years. Everyone laughed at him, but now, now it's looking less like a hot take and more like prophecy. Some would call it a spoiler. He literally tweeted one more year to go, right on schedule. Either way, it's entertaining. And here's the thing. There might actually be a silver lining to all this. When you cut 35% of your workforce, you're forced to reevaluate everything. Maybe, and this is a big maybe, Amazon will finally install actual leadership at Twitch. Or maybe Twitch just dies. And honestly, that might not be the worst outcome. The market will fill the void, and maybe without Twitch's toxic influence, streaming culture might actually improve. Look, it's hard to feel bad for Twitch when the platform has been such a dumpster fire. These are the people who created and enforced a system where ideology mattered more than rules, where creators were punished based on political affiliation rather than actual violations, where safety was an afterthought and virtue signaling was the priority. Twitch deserves every bit of this downfall after years of protecting degenerates and punishing normal users, after banning people for calling someone fat while platforming actual terrorists. This is what happens when you prioritize everything except building a sustainable, fair platform. This is what happened when your CEO is more interested in looking cool than actually running a company. This is what happens when you think you're too big to fail. Amazon just showed them that nobody is too big to fail. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Amazon will shut down Twitch? Should Elon buy it and rename it Twix? How long until Dan Clancy gets the boot? And to everyone at Twitch who got laid off, I genuinely hope you land on your feet at companies that actually value competence over ideology. And I hope you take this as a lesson about the kind of culture leadership that leads to these disasters. And to Dan Clancy, if you're somehow still CEO after all of this, brother, start updating that resume. Because if Amazon is willing to cut 35% of Twitch's workforce, it's only a matter of time before they realize the biggest dead weight is sitting in the corner office. Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so I can keep making videos and so Amazon does not replace me with ChatGPT on a stage all by itself. This is The Critical Nerd, reminding you that karma may be slow, but she always collects. And she just came for Twitch with a vengeance. Stay sarcastic, stay employed, and I'm out.